Ken, thanks so much for coming on. Congratulations on the award last night.
Well, thanks very much, Justin. It came as a complete surprise, absolutely complete surprise, and but I was obviously absolutely delighted to win it. Really, it's something very special. Indeed, I went out today and celebrated at 8:15. I had a haircut.
What a treat!
Absolutely. After 4 months of pretty well total isolation, apart from seeing the family through the window and stuff like that, and getting decent walks, it's been but I'm comfortable in my own skin, so it's been okay.
Well, I'm glad you deserve to be after getting the outstanding contribution to the profession. I mean, I think we might have given it to you, what, maybe a decade or more ago as well. But I just wanted to, to recognise the achievements of the last couple of years with Simply Beers. I mean, you guys have gone through the float process. You've got yourself involved in politics. You're still really, active in your local area. How do you keep up the energy to do all of that?
Well, I just love it. I love being involved in things and getting stuck in, and I guess that keeps you energetic, keeps you young. As I said a moment or two ago, I get good exercise every day. I love the local community and in Huddersfield, and as you've said, I'm very involved in it and in various ways. The politics was a surprise in a sense, but there were particular reasons. I mean, I last stood for Parliament in 1974. So I stood in 1970 and 1974 because I did see myself as being involved in Parliament and all that kind of stuff. And many of the people that I was candidates with at the time have now been elected, been in cabinet, been prime ministers and chancellor of the exchequers and so on. But I basically gave up politics in 1974, frontline politics. Since then, I've done bits and pieces behind the scenes, worked with various people on trying to sort of get sensible legislation through, but it's not. I had no expectation or interest in going back into frontline politics, but I was really keen to ensure that we kept the local Labour politicians here. I don't want to be too political, but I wanted to keep them occupied in Huddersfield so that we being the Conservatives, could win the marginals roundabout.
Yeah.
And we ended up winning 3 of them. So I felt it was a job well done.
Yeah, I think job well done at the Simply Biz group. Obviously, you guys have been through a lot of developments over the last few years. You're known as quite an innovator, someone who's trying to get on the next trend in the advice market. How do you stay on top of the game and look to where the winds are going and try and stay ahead of them?
Right. Well, strategy has always been one of my strategic thinking, if you will, has always been one of my strong points. People say, and I seem to be able to, as well as focus on detail when I want to. I seem to be able to see the way trends are going. And for example, I believe we are seeing now fundamental behavioural changes in not just business, but our social life as well. Because they do say that in a war, society changes 10 times faster than normal. If you look at the First World War, we had 40 years of change in society in terms of the ending of the aristocracy and landed gentry and all of that in a major sense. Second World War, we saw the rise of the unions and the way in which equal rights for women at work and all of those things. That's when they started, and we're at war now. We can't see the enemy, we can't smell it. In fact, who would have thought that something that we hadn't heard of perhaps possibly a few Chinese scientists,
Mm.
but nobody had heard of it at Christmas, and it pretty well shuts the world down at Easter. But from the technology point of view, Simply Biz has moved on absolutely leaps and bounds. We've basically done in the last 3 months our 5-year plan of taking technology forward. We've done we switched to virtual compliance visits. We've done about 1,000 compliance visits in the last 3 months virtually, and the satisfaction rate is over 98%. It's fantastic. And well, you know, Jay, that I have a really passionate belief in the value of independent financial advice. It's because people are better off if they have financial advice. They're more relaxed about their financial affairs. Every survey shows that they're better off in retirement. So it really is. And the thing is, I know banks and institutions give financial advice, but if you get advice from one of those, hopefully it won't damage you too much. But the reality is, if you see someone or talk to someone, the chances in 12 months' time of being able to talk to the same person or meet the same person are not high.
Yeah.
In 3 years' time or 5 years' time, it's zero. They've moved on. Whereas if you use a financial advisor, then you can have a relationship that will last a generation and more. And that is so valuable to clients. And
do you think that's being threatened by increasing regulatory costs like the financial services compensation schemes? I know you've been particularly vocal about that in the last couple of years.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all trying to work for better outcomes for consumers. The regulators want that. We want that. Advisors want that. But the way the financial services compensation scheme works at the moment is the funding is just grossly unfair. The people who pay for it have no chance of influencing the outcomes of anything. You could have an advisor in the same office block who's ripping off clients, and you wouldn't know. And so the funding absolutely ultimately needs to come from some kind of product or fund levy. And I did some work with an actuary 10 years ago on this, and the amount that you would need per billion is such a tiny fraction. You know, I can't remember the number exactly, but it's kind of almost parts per million. It's a real fraction that you'd need, because there's trillions of funds investing with the institutions, and the FCS liabilities are sort of half a billion. So it's a tiny amount which wouldn't be noticed by clients, wouldn't be noticed by the institutions, but it would be so much fairer. And I think the other aspect is that it would give the product providers themselves and the institutions a vested interest in the outcome of how their products are being used and the funds that they're receiving, because they receive the funds from like if you look at pension transfers from benefit-based schemes, defined benefit schemes. You have a situation where the money's going somewhere, generally going to institutions, so they know it's coming from pension schemes, and equally the trustees are writing out the checks. So those are the organisations that have the ability, in my view, to ensure that as little damage is done as possible. Because I mean, you can't eliminate all the crooks. It's the old principle. No matter how many policemen there are around, if you want to murder your wife, you'll do it. You know, and so you can't stop crooks and reckless advice. But you can spot it much earlier. And I think the regulator has a real task that it should grasp here. And I'd be delighted to help it, because
Mm.
I think there is the opportunity for the FCA to spot problems earlier than is happening at the moment.
Mm. Where do you draw the line from a regulatory standpoint between entrepreneurship in the advice sector and encouraging business growth and healthy profits, and saying, oh, advisors might make too much profits in some areas of their business? You know, taking DB transfers as an example. I mean, we all want a healthy, flourishing sector, but we also don't want clients getting ripped off just because there's an information asymmetry between the different parties.
It's a very good question. But the example you give of defined benefit, it wasn't a secret that was going to happen. I mean, when the first statement I issued after the Chancellor sat down in 2014 was that this was potentially a recipe for disaster, and I think I wrote an article for Money Marketing about a year later, in which I said that sadly, the one thing that I could guarantee in the next 5 years, there would be a pensions mis-selling crisis. In fact, the word I use, pension scandal. So if I knew it and other people knew it, then the regulator should have known it, and it should have acted. It was about 2 years before the regulator started making any material comments at all, and frankly, that's not good enough. And now, as far as businesses making profits, I think that absolutely right that businesses should make profits. Financial advisors deliver a great service, and they should make profits. And there's nothing wrong with making profits. The thing is that you do it in the right, proper, ethical way, because it's about, again, increasing opportunities for clients. It's about ensuring that clients have better outcomes, and that's what IFAs do.
You're clearly still so passionate about the sector, and I hate to bring up the subject of one's age. It's often taboo in society, but you're approaching the tender age of 80. I can't believe it myself. But are you ever going to hang up the boots? When's that retirement, that well-earned retirement coming?
Well, I don't think I'll ever retire in an absolute sense. But of course, Simply Biz, as you rightly said, is doing well and building. I mean, it's providing such a fantastic service for the firms that we serve, so even during the lockdown, we've still been attracting new firms, new members, and we always think about it. It's the firms that we serve. So that I am passionate about that. I really am passionate, and it's not. I don't think it's a passion that will ever wane. It's all about delivering value. I mean, the firms that we serve save a fortune, sort of, as opposed to doing it themselves, and they also. Our focus is on two things. Our DNA, if you will, is that we want the firms that we serve to be compliant, and we want them to be successful. So we try and deliver everything they need to be compliant and successful. And now we've expanded into a whole range of other areas, which are really exciting, particularly linked to technology and fintech and all of that. So that's really exciting, and I'm excited about it. However, I have decided that, as you say, I'll be in my 80th year next year, and so I shall stand down as chairman and move to deputy chairman. We've got a tremendous NED who will become chairman, and Gary Hughes, and so I will have less responsibility, and that will enable me, I believe, to spend more time on the area I really love, which is helping the IFA sector be more successful. So I won't be disappearing, I hope. I will be stepping down to, well, I'm moving into deputy chairman,
Yeah.
and my focus will remain on the IFA sector.
Ken, I don't want to hold you for too long. I know you're a busy man, but just want to say well done again for winning the Outstanding Contribution to the Profession Award, and it's a pleasure to speak to you.
Justin, I really appreciate your time as well. Thank you for the award. It was a delight to receive, and it was presented so well. And I'm delighted to have had this opportunity for a chat with you now. Thanks ever so much.
Thanks so much. Catch you soon, Ken.
Cheers. Bye.
Take care.